This video is about knowing the notation system. The horizontal lines that you see here is the modern notation method, and it's called a staff. It's used for the placement of our pitch and duration symbols. I'll go into depth about those things in later videos, but in short, the pitch is the sound measured in frequency, and the duration symbols are for how long the note should be played or rung. The staff, as you see, has 5 parallel lines, although historically other numbers of lines have been used. 4-line staff was especially used a lot. Musicians understand the staff as being composed of lines and spaces, 5 lines and 4 spaces. When you need to identify a particular line, use its number from the bottom to the top, the bottom being the lowest and the top being the highest. And the pitch symbols or the notes can be placed on the lines or on the space between the lines. You can also add extra lines if you need to go for a higher or lower than what the 5-line staff offers. They're called ledger lines, but if you draw too much lines, it would be uncomfortable for the musician to read. And that's where the clefs come into play. A clef is usually placed at the beginning of the staff. It shows the reader which pitch will be assigned to each staff line. There are 3 clefs, the G clef, and it looks like this, the F clef, and the C clef. When the G clef is placed on the staff like this, it's called a triple clef. When the F clef is placed on the staff like this, it's called a bass clef. The C clef can be placed on the middle line like this, and it's called the alto clef. And when it's placed on the fourth line like this, it's called the tenor clef. The most commonly encountered clefs are the treble and the bass. The alto clef is used in music written for an instrument like the viola, and sometimes in music written for the trombone. The tenor clef can be found in music written for the violoncello and the trombone, the basson, and sometimes the double bass. The treble clef is more common, being used on music written for violin, flute, guitar, trumpet, cornet, saxophones, and many others. The bass is also common, being used on music written for cello, double bass, bass guitar, bass recorder, and many others. An instrument like the piano uses both the treble and bass clef. A music score that's intended for the piano would look like this. Music for instruments and voices is written in the clef corresponding most closely to the range of their parts. Their pitch range is arranged from the highest to lowest like this, the treble clef being the highest and the bass clef being the lowest. Now let's talk about the pitch. Western music uses the first 7 letters of the alphabet to name the different pitches in the musical system, the A, B, C, D, E, F, G system, A being lower than B, B being lower than C, etc. The fact that all of our music can be represented by using only 7 letter names is due to the historical evolution of the Western notation system and the nature of the human ear. And if you start at the pitch A, for example, and play all the pitches, when you pass the G, you get A again, but 1 octave higher. I'll explain what's the octave in a later video, but in short, if you play the note twice, the second time with an octave higher, you're playing the same note with twice as many vibrations a second. You're playing the same pitch, but it sounds higher, and it sounds different as well, but all the listeners would agree that the same pitch. For that reason, it's more comfortable using 1 letter for both pitches. Here's the keyboard as an example. All the white tiles are the alphabet in order. I'll explain the black keys in the next video. Now we go back to the staff and the clefs. The clef would be placed at the start of the staff like this, and each staff has its assigned notes. The G clef or the treble clef is named the G clef because it circles around the second bottom line where the line G is, and you can go up or down alphabetically between the A and the G, and those are the notes you'll get. The F clef or the bass clef is called the F clef because the 4th line is placed between the 2 dots, and that's where the line F is. The same thing with bass clef, you go up and down the alphabet, and those are the notes you'll get. The C clef is called the C clef because the symbol points at the C line, and those are the notes you'll get. But there's a need for greater precision, because the A to G system isn't enough to tell us about the distance between the notes. The next video will focus on exactly that. In the meantime, there are some exercises related to this video. I highly encourage you to do them, and see you in the next video.